Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. We're trying to work through some technical difficulties, but hopefully we'll move past and we'll get to the main event of tonight, which is to talk about bottle and bond bourbons. We're going to be doing a blind flight fight, but first we'll talk a little briefly about what Bottle and Bond Act is. It's the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897. It's essentially a reaction due to widespread adulteration in American whiskeys back in the 1800s. People were putting tobacco spit, iodine, all kinds of unwanted and undesirable additives to otherwise a weak or undistilled spirit to bring up the color and flavoring of that distillate so they could sell it and market it as an older bourbon and what have you. There wasn't the FDA. This is something that, in effect, it was America's first consumer protection laws, predating the Pure Food and Drug Act. So it was a way for the consumer to ensure that what they were drinking was protected. All right, this is not just for that reason. There was a tax incentive as well for participating on that worked for both parties and helped ensure proper accounting and the eventual collection of tax was due. All right, so although the regulation applies to all spirits, most bonded spirits are in fact whiskeys. So the rules that they have to abide by is it has to be labeled as bottled and bond or bonded. The liquor must be the product of one distillation season, which runs January through June or July through December, by one distiller at one distillery. It must have been aged in a federally bonded warehouse under U.S. government supervision for at least 4 years and bottled at exactly 100 proof, 50% alcohol by volume. The bottle's product label must identify the distillery where it was distilled and, if different, where it was bottled. Only spirits produced in the United States may be designated as bonded. So when you see bottled and bond, all the same true laws, are in effect that they were back in 1897. You can know, even if it's non-age dated, that it's at least 4 years. But it doesn't have to be 4 years. Like, it has to be bottled at 100 proof. It can be older than 4 years. We have Old Fitzgerald as an example. That's a wheated bourbon. I have that behind me, but it's not something I'm presenting today in this blind flight because these aren't wheated bourbons and it would really not line up. It really wouldn't make a lot of sense. That's a 16-year-old bourbon. Wild Turkey made a 17-year as part of their Master's Keep collection, bottle and bond. And that's something that's sort of on the super premium end of the spectrum. And it goes to show that you can have 4 years minimum and go all the way up to where we've seen 17 years be bottled and bond. Prior to this Act's passage, like we're talking about, this adulteration of spirits, as it were, occurred mainly in the 1800s, but a lot of it, again, was out of the greed. The practice was connected to tax law, which provided the primary incentive for distillers to participate. Distillers were allowed to delay payment of the excise tax on the stored whiskey until the aging of the whiskey was completed. So those of you who are aware how bourbon works in terms of maturation, right, that barrel will lose some to Angel's share as it evaporates out of the barrel. Well, they're being taxed on the entirety of that barrel, a 53-gallon barrel, regardless of how much is actually in it, right? So this kind of helps that a little bit, it ensures that it's being protected under U.S. government supervision, and ensures the proper accounting and the eventual collection of the tax. So that's the incentive on the government side of the house. So this combination of tax law and incentives, as it were, really led to a group of whiskey distillers led by Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor Jr. Yes, this E.H. Taylor. Taylor's known for a bunch of things. We'll get into that in a minute when I talk about each one of these bourbons. But he was joined with the Secretary of Treasury John G. Carlisle to fight for the Bottle and Bond Act to ensure compliance. Treasury agents were assigned to control access to so-called bonded warehouse at the distilleries. So what we'll do first is we'll go through each one of these just real briefly and talk about why these bourbons were selected. So first up, we have Heaven Hill 7-year bottle and bond. This is 78% corn, 12% malted barley, and 10% rye. It is not a single barrel like this one is. Same distillery, they're both Heaven Hill. This is a single barrel. This is not. This is 7 years. This is 10 years. So that's kind of why these were chosen. This came about in 2019, after retiring its much-loved 6-year-old bourbon. And then now this offering is a tribute to the original Old Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond bourbon released in 1939. Then again, we move over to the Henry McKenna single barrel, right? Much like its Heaven Hill brother in many ways. It won the Best in Show in 2019's San Francisco World Spirits Competition. So that's where you start to get a lot of love for this. So you see these not so often anymore on the shelf. Much like Taylor's kind of a hard to grab thing every once in a while, but they're really at MSRP about the same. You go from anywhere about 50, 40, 50, $60, and the same is true with the old Forester 1897 as well. So the Old Forester 1897 Bottled and Bond is a 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% malted barley, and this is the second expression in their Whiskey Row series, following their 1870 whiskey. So they produced the 1870 whiskey from 3 distilleries, Mattingly, Melwood, and Atherton, and bottled that at 90 proof. It wasn't until 1897 that they, George Garvin Brown, abided by the law, got on board and produced this thing. So according to this label, essentially it says the small batch craft expression will be presented in a lightly filtered old style reminiscent of a 19th century bourbon, rich and bold in barrel character. We'll find out. Then we get to E.H. Taylor. You cannot talk about Bottled and Bond without talking about E.H. Taylor, whether it's just about the background history or Bottled and Bond bourbons that you're going to be drinking. This really should be part of that conversation. And so those of you who might not know who E.H. Taylor was, he's essentially a bourbon business pioneer in the 19th and 20th century. His most important contributions to the American whiskey include, as we're talking about now, lobbying for the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897, and then the construction of OFC Distillery, which, after several ownership changes, is now known today as the Buffalo Trace Distillery. This offering is a small batch offering. It's the entry-level offering, first released in 2013, of a few E.H. Taylors, which also include single barrel offering, a barrel proof offering, rye variants. They got a couple experimental ones that come out usually as one-off releases, with the exception of the barrel proof bourbon, and there may be one that I'm missing here, but with the exception of the barrel proof bourbon, all E.H. Taylors are Bottled and Bond. The only difference really you're going to see with Bottled and Bond is the E.H. Taylor is this orange label. So it's this faux tack strip on their bottle is in orange. Most of the Bottled and Bond bourbons will have a green tax label, as you'll note here on this one, the Henry McKenna. It's sort of got it's definitely a modern. This one looks more like legit in sense, obviously, other than the color. And then even the 1897, which is no way, shape, or form, looks like an old style Bottled and Bond tack strip, but it still has that green marker. That's why they probably chose that color there for the bottles. This one has none. And then the old tub, which I saved for last. So for this age here, this is a non-age dated bourbon from Buffalo Trace's Mash Bill 1, which is a low rye percentage mash bill. This is 4 years old at least because it's Bottled and Bond, but it's speculated to be about 6 to 10 years old. And then we move outside of what I would kind of capture these ones right here as a maybe premium, not super premium, but like a premium type Bottled and Bond offering. And then I throw in Old Tub, and I did that for good reason. Because as most of you who want to throw an alibi or a rando in here, you might have chosen Evan Williams Bottled and Bond White Label. Super famous Bottled and Bond bourbon, always on the shelf at $20. A lot of people love it. If you want, you got the means, go ahead, pick it up and try it out. I'm not a big fan of it. And I chose the Old Tub. This is Old Tub's name, was the name prior to Jim Beam. Trying to pull up the facts here. I might have put them elsewhere, but essentially, yeah, here it is. So it's 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley, and this is non-chill filtered. So while this one's probably truer to that 4 years, that non-chill filtered aspect, which is going to allow more of the flavor molecules than some of the chill filtered offerings you see on here, or as Old Forester called, partially filtered, whatever that means, we're going to get some more flavors out of this one, which is going to help this kind of stand up to the big boys here, or bigger boys. Up until 2020, However, it had been continually distilled and sold only in 375 milliliter bottles at the distiller's gift shop in Claremont, Kentucky. With its broader release, it's now being bottled at what you see here, 750 milliliters, and offered, about $30 in most liquor stores, and you can find it. It's still technically a limited release, but I've not seen it on the shelf, so we'll find out. Let's see. Flexing on us by pulling out bottle and bond, bottle after bottle. Well, if I'm going to do that, I'll pull out a little bit of my early times here. I was going to showcase a couple others. We got an old Bardstown. This is much like the old tub that you used to only be able to get at their gift shop, Willett gift shop. Then I got this guy. It's a Benchmark bonded. This is part of a series from Benchmark that was meant to showcase a bunch of different types of how they could produce a bourbon. They have a top shelf bourbon, a single barrel bourbon from Benchmark in that lineup, just kind of showcasing a couple different ways bourbon can change. And then J.W. Dant, it's a very popular or more of a kind of cult following, if you will, shelf type bourbon as well. I was going to do a 2-part series where I do a premium kind of lineup. I don't have an ultra premium lineup. Apologies. And then do the second part, do a sort of the lower end bonded, like I would also probably throw in Old Granddad bonded. But I figured, why not just do 5 bourbons? Oh no, I've got to drink 5 bourbons tonight and figure out which one of these premium options are best. So let me go ahead and slide these over so I don't spill them. I'm going to move these guys over too. And I've already have the Blind Flight poured out before me, and I have them underneath cards that I don't know. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, if you got these bourbons, pull them out. We'll try them out together. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and try to figure out. Actually, I need to get these guys in a lineup somehow, because I'm going to start doing like a rack and stack deal. So if you don't see them, actually, you know what? Maybe I'll move them sideways real quick. That way I can get them better in frame. There we go. Look at that. Okay. All right, so glass 1. Well, it's a very gentle nose. It's probably aged at least 4 years. But I don't get a lot of complexity on those. Very standard vanilla, bourbons and whatnot. And so bottle and bond is great just for that, because a lot of bartenders will pull for a bottle and bond bourbon when they're making their bourbon cocktails, because 100 proof is going to allow that level of proof where it's a nice balance between, it's not too much of that whiskey or bourbon, and it's not allowing the cocktail to do the cocktail thing. And then it's also enough where it's going to help that cocktail along. And again, you're also getting, at least 4 years. You got a couple guarantees, as we talked about. And they're usually fairly, accessible and cheap. This tastes like a mouthful of cinnamon and vanilla. That's a lot of cinnamon. Very well balanced. However, I'm not upset with it. It's just, that's a blast of cinnamon. I don't want to try. I promised myself I wasn't going to do the guessing game, but I know, when I taste a Buffalo Trace product like E.H. Taylor is, I know that like the cinnamon flavor seems to be more prominent in their products than others. But we'll find out here whenever we get around to that. This one has more of a fruitier nose, almost the same lightness that the first glass did, but a bit more. Less cinnamon. It's actually got a really nice balance of oak and some dark fruits. I'm trying to keep these notes broad and quick so we can kind of move along, and I can keep it in memory and rank them, because that's really what's a so what tonight is, right? and not the tasting itself necessarily. So I actually think I like this one a touch better. I'm going to move that up. I know you guys can't see it. I'm just going to slide just a touch. Very close, but I think I like that glass 2 better. All right, it's glass 3. Almost no nose on this guy. It's more like a heavier type oak, but none of the charred stuff. Never mind, this one's got full of flavor. It's got a nice blast of caramel and vanilla as opposed to the cinnamon on the first one. It's rich. This is rich, whatever this is. Which is absolutely nuts, because these two would taste like they're different in proof by a lot, like at least 10 proof. But obviously that's not true. They're all 100 proof. But this one, man, this one's got some nice complexity. This is the number 1 so far. I'll stick that right out front. Glass 3 is number 1. All right, moving on to glass 4. Much like glass 3. This one tastes like peanuts. And because I know I got one Beam product on the table, I'm going to guess this is the Beam. But I like it. It's better than the glass 1, I think. It's not as balanced. It's got a little bit of like acidity, something tannic on the end that I don't love. But I love that opener. And if you like peanuts, you'll like it. But if you don't like peanuts, then this ain't your guy. Peanuts. Make sure I enunciate. This one's just got a nice balance. Kind of like apple and vanilla. I gotta get some of that out of my mouth from the other one. There's an apple there, maybe a cherry. This one's more fruitier. Again, touch tannic. So somehow I think maybe, shit. All right, maybe glass 2 and glass 3 are on the, or glass 5. Man, I'm already losing count. But I have like half a sip of all these. I swear I'm okay. But I'm gonna have to redo this. That's all there is to it. I'm gonna have to redo it. So what are you guys' thoughts? Do you have a favorite bottle and bond already picked out? If there are, I'd like to hear about it and maybe try it if I haven't already. This is a really enjoyable cinnamon heavy and vanilla pour. There's really nothing wrong with this. It's a really good bourbon, but it's definitely very simple. It's like, oh, it's good bourbon, I guess. And unless it's the $20 bottle that's on the table at the price and the semi-accessibility of these, I would kind of want maybe a little more. Let's go 4 next. Let's try. Yeah. No, these two need to fight. 4 and 2. 5 and 2. Really fruity, nicely balanced. A lot of vanilla, which seems to be a very common thing, obviously amongst bourbons, vanillin and vanilla, as a flavor, caramel and oak, common things you find, but these ones seem to really take it home. I think this one is going to edge out slightly because this one has, I get a touch tannic of the oak there. So I think this one's going to edge out over glass 2. Let's see if I still got a winner on 3. Shit, guys. Shoot. I'm going to have to go right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to look, because I'm going to keep messing it up. Let's go ahead and taste glass 3. Yeah, I love the balance. It's got some of the best of that and the best of that. I really like what's going on in glass 3. And I haven't tasted this one again in a minute. Glass 4. Oh, that's peanuts. It smells like peanuts. So fun. This is really good. Let's see 4 and 2 fight. All right, guys. 4 and 2, because this is, again, simple, much like glass 1 is, but the peanuts are more of a harder type, flavor than the glass 1 is. It's got that lighter cinnamon and vanilla. The peanuts seem to be more of a, dominant note. I like the fruitier parts on the glass 2 than the peanuts on glass 4, but man, these guys are circling. All right, so we got, so far it looks like glass 3, glass 5, then glass 2, then glass 4, then glass 1. So let's see the 1 and 2 spot fight. We'll start with second place and work our way to first. Really enjoyable, but extremely well balanced. Let's see. This one just feels like it's got a higher proof. I know it's not the case, but this one tastes like it. It's got the depth of fruit and flavors, and it's got a good, healthy kick of oak. Maybe that's some rye. We'll find out what the percentages are when we go to it. But I kind of like 3. I am super stoked to see what's going on, because you got E.H. Taylor, which is the guy, right? One people crave about. Granted, small batch is the entry level. People really love the single on up, all the way up to barrel proof and, the warehouse C and everything else. That's a whole other conversation. And then the other 2, the 7-year Heaven Hill, the 10-year single, Henry McKenna, they get so much love, and, well deserved, because nothing on the table really is bad by a long shot. And even whatever this old tub ends up fitting in the line is apparently fighting really well with the rest. Old Forester is a trusted for me. I'm a little biased. I really like Old Forester stuff. So let me taste one last go. Promise this will be the last run of these 5 bourbons, and at the end of which we're going to flip over these cards. We're going to figure out who's it and who's not. I really like the balance of this. I know I said it again. I said it before. I'm going to say it again. The vanilla and the cinnamon are super, it's simple, but it's really balanced. There's nothing tannic on the end. Not a lot of oak, which is unfortunate for me. That's my profile, palate preference. But something about that simplicity just kind of works. I'm going to skip over to the next fourth in line and see if those guys can't fight. This is the one that tastes like peanuts. I think it's more enjoyable. It's more enjoyable. That's definitely a winner. It's definitely winning over that one, 100%. So let's go 2 and 5. Does 2 and 5 deserve each other? Start with 2. Smoky fruit. I've been kind of sipping water, not really taking the breaks you're supposed to be taking. So maybe there's a bit of that, which is kind of mellowing out that, tannic oak bit on the end. But it's less tannic. Maybe it's opening up a touch as well. But it's better than it was at the beginning. I just think because the proof of this tastes a little higher than glass 2. That's the simplest term way. Remember, I'm trying to do broad terms to describe these things, so we're not focusing on tasting notes, rather where they rack and stacked against one another. And the very last glass we're going to taste is the winner, and see if it's still the winner. I think 3 and 5 need to fight again. So that's 3. Then we get one more gulp of 3, and we'll do last gulp of 5. And we're going to go glass 5 here. Finish off. Man, glass 3 and glass 5 are neck and neck. I'll taste them again if I need to, and there's an upset, but I'm going to have to stick with my guts. All around said glass 3 was the best over glass 5, but it's a photo finish between glass 3 and 5, with glass 2 pretty close behind. Glass 1 and glass 4 weren't really in the conversation between those glasses. However, they weren't like trailing and never were in the running. So glass 1 and glass 4, definitely all equal participants on this field, which is crazy because one of these is the $20 Old Tub. So we'll start off with the worst in this lineup and work our way up. So glass 1, I have a suspicion I know what this one is, and it's going to kind of sting because of my biases. It's not... Well, not what I thought, but Old Forester 1897. Well, I was wrong as heck from before. I'm talking about that vanilla and cinnamon as related to Buffalo Trace products. There you have it. That's why blind fights work. Old Forester 1897. Holy crap. Okay. Next in the lineup, taking 4th place, Old Tub. I guessed that one, like, on the nose before I even, took the first sip. All day long. I knew that one. And then glass 2 finishes in 3rd place. Are we good? Okay. Is everybody good on their end? Because glass 3 is Heaven Hill. So that's glass 3. I was told we're getting some technical difficulties, so if you guys are still with me, let me know. Okay, we're good. All right, so glass 3 was Heaven Hill. Well, that means that leaves the 10-year Henry McKenna, and it leaves E.H. Taylor, which blows my mind. Heaven Hill deserving that sort of conversation in this running is no surprise. So, 2nd place, here it is. Henry McKenna, 10-year. That's wild, because that leaves glass 1 and the winner as E.H. Taylor. There you have it, man. The man who started it all, E.H. Taylor, wins the blind flight. Wait, glass 3 or 3rd place. So, again, to line it up, we got 5th place. Old Forester, 1897, 5th place. 4th place. Old Tub, 3rd place. Heaven Hill, bottled in bond. 2nd place, Henry McKenna single barrel, aged 10 years. And then 1st place, the King, E.H. Taylor small batch. Out of all those guys. Now, a non-age dated bourbon, but is rumored anywhere between 6 to 10 years, is throwing down with Henry McKenna age dated 10 years and Heaven Hill age dated 7 years. However, like I said though, these two gentlemen were neck and neck, and honestly, I was this close to pulling this as number 1. You know, so these went like this. They were like boom, 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 boom. So they almost tied. But you can't go wrong if you get bottled in bond, right? That's what they say. That's what I say. So if you guys got a favorite bottle in bond that I haven't tried, let me know, and maybe I'll work it in. But other than that, I'll say cheers to you all, and hope you guys find a great bottle in bond some point this weekend. And when you do, let me know how it tastes. Go ahead and like this video once I post it if you enjoyed the review of the blind flight. And check out my other pages. Thanks, y'all, and cheers.